Hello, hello, hello. This is LaWanna Bradford, and I am so excited to have you here, not on Power of the Pen, but we are on Choose to Challenge. Welcome, welcome to a special edition of Choose to Challenge. This is a very serious show for me. I'm excited that I have my co-host and business partner, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army retired, Ricky Spann, who will be joining us. And we're going to be talking about a topic that's entitled, Am I My Brother's Keeper? And this is all around the messaging and the experiences and the angst and the just trauma that we are hearing, that we've heard for the last 7 days with the Los Angeles wildfires. And we're going to talk about the importance of community and how when we unite, we can create hope. And we're going to unpackage what this all means for the City of Angels. So I will be back in just a minute with none other than Ricky Spann. How's it going, Rick?
Hello. How are you doing? It's going well.
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining. You know, I thought it was so important. I already had a show slated for tonight. And I thought, no, occasionally when things are happening and they're happening in real time, we have to do a quick pivot and deal with the things that the world is focusing on. And right now it's the world and here in the US, which is the Los Angeles wildfires. So that's why I wanted to have this special show, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me. To our viewing audience on E360 TV and those that are streaming on social media, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm coming at you from Atlanta, Georgia, and Rick, you are right next door to California and Arizona.
Yes, I'm out in the Phoenix area, and people are asking me, how is it impacting Phoenix? And we're getting the bad air, but it's typical bad air for Phoenix. So we're getting a lot of traffic from the people that have family or trying to relocate to the Phoenix area because we can accommodate a large crowd. But other than that, we're willing to take them in and willing to help the people.
That's great. You know, I was thinking last night I spent a couple hours. We have a family Facebook page, and so when we have family all over the world, but a huge concentration in the Los Angeles area. So it was between myself and three other family members. No, it was four when I count mom. I'm like, okay, we need to get on the horn. I need to account for every single family member. I had our family roster. I was either calling, emailing. I'm like, folks, I need you to sound off. Where are you? Because I was just really concerned because I'm thinking, why? We're a family. We have a huge cell there. And I don't hear anybody talking about it. And I went to our Facebook page. No one had posted anything. And we found out, fortunately, as of today, as of the time of the airing of this, no one has lost their homes, but we did have a family that had to quickly evacuate. And then Monique and Michelle, who you met when you lived in San Diego, they said that they described the air quality as toxic. So in their home, they have some sort of air filtration system going on. They're still wearing their mask, and they said they can still feel like the gunk in their eyes and things like that. What do you have to say about that? Because we know that, you know, air quality is so key. We talk about, you know, air quality, toxin mitigation in our air, pollution in our air, and we deal with that with emissions. But now they're dealing with emissions, fire, and then with the burning of all of these buildings, you are looking at asbestos and all kinds of chemicals, right, that are going up in the air.
Yeah, so a lot of time people want to think, oh, it's a fire, it's wood burning. But as you mentioned, it's the toxic chemicals that we use in order to make up our society. So in addition to just trees burning or brush burning, you have the chemicals that are in the car. A lot of your cars have foam and all those kind of things. And once these things are set ablaze, they become so toxic. They release certain chemicals in addition to the particulates from the wood and the stuff in the air. The chemical things that are going into your lungs will have effects that we probably won't know until the next 10 to 15 years. There's going to be certain types of cancer and other health issues that come from just the toxic chemicals that are being released in the fire, in addition to the wood particulates and things from the embers that are burning.
You know, when you say that, that's kind of frightening. And you're right. It's, for the most part, there's not going to be an immediate, we know it's a health threat. That's obvious. We know that individuals are in hazard conditions. But as far as the body showing signs of this, it may be delayed. And you're looking at cardiovascular implications, pulmonary implications.
So being a military person, and I have to point people in the direction of commercials that they probably heard in the last 3 or 4 years about soldiers coming back from Afghanistan, and it comes they couch it as, if you were ever around burn pits and all those kind of things, and if you were impacted by burn pits, then you could get compensation or what have you. So the veterans that were in Afghanistan 10, 15 years ago, they're now experiencing the long-term effects of just burning human waste. Because one of the things that we do in the military, we set up in an area where it's not a built-up area, so we dig these pits in order to remove the waste, and then we burn it, and the smoke and the toxic chemicals from burning just our waste is causing long-term effects and disabilities amongst soldiers, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. And so cancer, lung cancer, there's a high incidence of certain types of cancers that we hadn't been introduced to in a normal forest fire. So these chemical things are more damaging than the actual fire. But the people won't realize it, even the survivors, they won't realize it for another 10, 15 years. And do we have the capacity as a nation, or do we have the compassion as a nation to prepare for that now, in order to help these people? Because it's coming, and we need to prepare and figure out how we're going to help their health challenges in the future.
Yeah, I like what you said. I mean, we really have to, as a nation, now have that line of sight, right? We're dealing with the now, we're dealing with the immediate. We're not negating that at all. But now we have to look at the consequences of where we are. And one of the things I know you and I spoke about briefly before we aired is, here in the US, we're about to change administration. And we know there's a lot of conversation about government waste, and we need to change things, and we need to cut here, cut there. Well, and I want to use this term because I thought it was interesting how you kind of spun it. So we hear about Make America Great Again. And I believe that we've always been a great nation. We can always be better, right? We never want to rest on our laurels. But let's just say everyone is really on, we want to make America great again. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I like is you use the term Imlaga, make Los Angeles great again. And for those that are listening, I'm here with retired Lieutenant Colonel Ricky J. Spann, and we're talking about "Am I My Brother's Keeper?" This conversation is dealing with the Los Angeles wildfires and how we need to unite as a community. Now, going back to what I said about Imlaga, make Los Angeles great again, and I don't say it lightly. If we, as a nation, are saying we want the MAGA, we want to make America great again. Well, now we have our chance to pilot all the programs, all the things that we say we need to put in place to make that happen. Because we have a city of millions of individuals who have been adversely impacted. We have an infrastructure that is failing because of that heat, right? Who knows what it's done to our bridges? You have educational systems that are now at a standstill. What are we going to do with our children? Healthcare. There are so many facets of community, and I'm saying the government is elements of our community, that when it comes together with all of its systems, with all of its programs, with all of its resources, and if we do it in the right way and use this opportunity to rebuild and make LA great again, what's possible for the rest of America, Rick?
Yeah, so, I've always said America is aspirationally great. I mean, it's never been great, but we have always aspired to be great. And part of that aspiration is that if we see something that's broke, we fix it. If we see people that are in need, we help them. If we, going to my Christian roots, if we see a person that's hungry, we feed them. We see a person that's sick, we heal them. So our current political discourse is so divided that make America great again seems to be make someone on top and everyone else let's just discard. So I'm thinking if we want to try to bring this nation back together, back to what we aspire to be, is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And so we have to take every opportunity in which, though it's a disaster, but this is a time that all Americans can come together and to make LA great again. LA is our second largest city and one of the most wealthiest and diverse cities that we have in the country. And all people are hurting. It's not just one race, one gender, one political party, but all people are hurting now. And the true test of making LA great again, or making America great, period, in this aspirational transition that we're aspire to be, we have to start at LA. We need to put political discourse aside. We need to get in where we can fit in. We need to find out, instead of what a lot of people hear on the internet and on the news, what caused this, what caused that. Well, we'll figure that out. But our first thing is to heal the sick, save the people that are in harm's way. So we shouldn't be talking about the causality. We'll figure that out. But right now we have over 100-some thousand people that have been displaced, that need a place to live. They need water, they need toiletries, they need clothes, they need money, they need all these kind of things that we, the American people, throughout our history, have gathered together around a common cause. And the common cause is to make all Americans whole again. And whatever that means to you, we have to put the political and the different parties' rhetoric aside and let's focus on the immediate crisis. Is to try to get our brothers and sisters in LA back on firm footing. So we need to call into the Red Cross, call into St. Vincent de Paul, call into these notable charities that's already on the ground trying to help people. They need water. If you're in fraternities, what is your fraternity doing? My fraternity we've had 20 something, about 25 fraternity brothers that have been impacted. 14 have lost their houses. 5 of them, insurance was canceled prior to this, couple of days prior to the actual wildfire. So we've already put out a call to all the brothers to chip in, get in, and help out our brothers that we know are being impacted negatively by the fire. And we don't have to stop with friends, family, but all Americans are hurting in the LA area. And those of us that have family there, I call, and as you mentioned, you got in your family webpage and you did a check, a quality check. How are you doing? Are you okay? So I've been calling my friends, some of my friends, I went to grade school with, they currently live in LA. I've called and checked on them. A couple of them are living in hotels and with no homes totally destroyed. And so we just need to make LA great again. This is our marquee city, home of Hollywood, is what the world sees as the best of America. So we need to get off our high horse, put political, social, and all those things aside, and roll up the sleeves and get hand in hand and make LA great again.
Let's I want to talk about a couple of things when we look at, you mentioned the charitable organizations that are out there. You mentioned St. Vincent de Paul, Goodwill, Salvation Army. The list goes on and on. There are a lot. Those are the big ones, right? But we also have the government infrastructure that supports it. So I went and I said, let me go and look at every single organization in the face of a disaster, a major disaster, steps up to the plate and has a critical role. And the number of government agencies that have a key role, a powerful and influential role, is quite staggering. So it makes you wonder when we're talking about, and now I'm speaking to our leaders, state, local, federal levels, when we're looking to make certain decisions, we have to assess what is the long-term ramification of making certain cuts. So listen to this. You have, and we're going to start with the first one, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, FEMA, Education, SBA, EPA. Now there's others. And then you have Health and Human Services. And in the umbrellas that they have under each of those, right? So like Health and Human Services, you have HRSA, and HRSA deals with mobile health units, right? Everyone's not going to be able to get to a local hospital. And that's the other question. How many local hospitals have been impacted? I don't know about you, Rick, but I haven't heard about that on the news. Hospitals, senior living, assisted living, adult daycare, long-term care facilities, respite facilities. Why are we being very quiet about populations that were there? And that concerns me. There was a man on TV. Unfortunately, he passed, both he and his son. I believe his son had cerebral palsy, and he was disabled and in a wheelchair, and he was not going to leave his son. They were waiting for medical help to arrive. Unfortunately, it didn't. how many of those are like that or are vulnerable, right? From a health standpoint, you couldn't get out fast enough. Maybe you're now at safe, it's in a safe place, but physically you've been compromised, right? You've inhaled all of that ash and trash in your body, Rick.
So that's interesting that you should say that because, America, as wealthy as it is, a lot of our funds and finances are misspent. And when I say misspent, is that unlike other developed nations, America spent very little of its wealth, and I'm not talking about the annual budget, I'm talking about its wealth, on the taking care of the American people. As you mentioned, people that are in adult daycare, people that are in convalescent homes or long-term care facilities. Well, we put all that pressure on the local community to handle these situations. But when these situations occur, no city could handle a disaster like LA by itself. So when I say we've taken our wealth and misplaced it, and I'm a soldier, so I believe in a strong, staunch defense, but we're spending almost $1 trillion on the DoD, military defense, but we won't spend money for healthcare for all. Our hospitals and our healthcare system has been privatized so much that they're no more than a for-profit business, no more than a donut shop or a taco stand. They have to make money. So a lot of your health care and these people that are displaced, they would have to go from one place to the next. Well, if one private hospital burns down, it doesn't mean that they can take them to the next hospital. When we used to have public hospitals, we had some wiggle room where we could move people around. Now it's all about can you afford to bring them to the new hospital? It's the money and all those kind of things. So our wealth is so locked into just making profits that we don't do things that are common decency, like taking care of the poor, taking care of the sick. So these folks that can't walk, that are bedridden, someone has to get on the phone to try to see, is there a facility? Because all the facilities are private now. Is there a facility that has the capacity to receive 30 people on this kind of medical, with this kind of medical care need? And all of them are not the same. One might deal with lung patients. Well, that might be 400 miles away. So you have to get them there. So our healthcare system is broke because we repeatedly allow the wealth to be drawn all the way up only to the elite. And so
Let's pause right there. Let's because I want to make sure that we talk about all the components. It's we just don't want to focus on healthcare. We're talking about community, and that if all of these agencies work together, because they do have processes, they do have systems in place, and they use Los Angeles as an example of how we can do things better, how we can rebuild, how we can ensure that all individuals have the opportunity to rebuild their lives and to live a vibrant life in America. This is the opportunity for us to show up. Let's talk about businesses. So small business administration typically comes in, whether you need a small business loan, whether you need the IDLs, which is dealing with your economic injury disaster loans. Look how many businesses have been impacted.
So yeah,
I mean, it's hundreds of businesses. So it's like not only are their businesses closed and they have the inability to do business, but individuals who were employed. And so the question is, will these EIDL loans actually be something that that individuals can still apply for, which enables them until their businesses is back on its feet, can pay their employees. So there's a lot of questions, again, when we're talking about community and working collectively. Again, it's not one agency that's going to solve everything, but collectively, I believe we have certain things in place. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back. I'm going to toss the ball to you, Rick, after we hear from someone who is actually living in this nightmare. Be right back.
Are you ready to defy gravity and challenge the impossible? Meet LaWanna Bradford, the visionary leader behind Choose to Challenge on E360 TV. Now in its 5th season, this groundbreaking show shines a spotlight on voices of change from across the globe. Born during the pandemic, Choose to Challenge becomes a platform for transformation where no topic is off limits. Every episode highlights individuals breaking barriers, rewriting narratives, and making an impact. Ready to share your story and inspire change? Call 404-618-2824 to become a guest. This is your moment to rise. Tune in now at e360tv.com. Your voice matters. Let's change the world together.
We are back on E360 TV, and we're excited to be here. I, LaWanna Bradford, with my guest, co-host Rick Spann, and we are talking about Am I My Brother's Keeper, the LA Wildfires, Communities Unite. And before I play this clip, it's a 3-minute clip, Rick, and I'll toss it over to you to kind of give your opinion on what you hear. I want to encourage the creators and influencers out there who have platforms. Use them, get the word out, get people's stories out there, help to promote different charities that are available. Use your platform to help rebuild LA. But before we can rebuild, we have to rebuild the heart, the mind, give hope, reimagine what the new and improved LA can look like, and then come together collectively. So right now I'm going to pull this up and let us hear from Shari Elise, who is America's Joy Magnet TV show host and author. Let's get this started.
This city wrapped them up and held them for me, whispering reminders through the hills, the Hollywood sign, and the endless sunsets. Never give up. LA isn't just where I pursued my dreams, it's where I found my people. Dreamers and doers, creatives who follow their hearts and believe in their own possibilities. Families who left everything behind in other countries to build better lives here. People who work hard, love fiercely, and give generously. Right now, my fiance and our cats recently evacuated from our home, my studio where my show is filmed. My livelihood is in danger. And while I'm not in the city at this moment, caring for my dad as he battles ALS, my heart remains in LA. This city, whether I was born here or not, has taken a hold of me. It's my home. LA isn't a stereotype. It's not just the Walk of Fame or glitzy Rodeo Drive. It's a collective of humanity, rich and poor, from every corner of the globe. We are multicultural, we are resilient, and we are hurting right now. You know, people have opened their homes to us. They've offered us money. They've shared their prayers. They've shown their love. This kindness, this collective care is what will save us. And what we need most is for you to see us, to love on us, to believe in us the way this city believes in the dreams that it holds. Los Angeles is a city of angels because of its people. And no matter where I stand in the world, I will always stand with them. Kindness will always win. It will heal, and it will remind us that together We are unstoppable. I love you, LA.
Rick, turn that over to you. You can feel the emotion or hear the emotion.
Yeah, and as you mentioned just before the break about the agencies and organizations that are stood up in order to handle the vast needs of the American populace, we have to realize that we as a people have to demand that these organizations are properly funded, because it's all going to come down to what do our politicians do with our tax dollar, because money doesn't grow on trees. Congress authorized it, prints money. If it doesn't print money and put it in place to take care of us in these kind of times, then all the agencies they run short of money. Point of fact is that in February of last year, in San Diego, they had a big flood. Uh, my family, in fact, my wife is in San Diego now trying to rebuild from that flood. So she's been trying to get a, SBA FEMA loan, but what she's getting is that FEMA is out of money because FEMA doesn't have infinite resources; they have finite resources. And then in the process of trying to get money to rebuild the home in San Diego, you get the two hurricanes that hit on the East Coast, and they got priority. So she gets an email back saying that, hey, we can't process your loan because the money has been shifted from one area to the next. So all these agencies are set up, and you know, they'll do the right thing, but this takes funding, and it takes the proper apportionment and appropriation of funding from the top down, because we are dealing with global warming. We called it global warming in my day. Some people call it climate change. However, the shifts in the global atmosphere is causing storms and earthquakes and hurricanes and fires that the cities that were built up in those areas are not accustomed to. So these agencies didn't plan or budget to handle the kind of catastrophes that's going on. So we have to start building our communities with the what if a hurricane comes, what if that, and we have to fund these resources, because as you can see now, there's 200,000 people, almost 200,000 people in LA that's dealing. Have a couple of 100,000 people on the East Coast that are dealing with the hurricanes. So after the news is gone, after the news cycle has died, I can tell you these people will be hurting and needing money and support for the next 20 years. I even talked to you a lot about the Katrina victims when I was in Atlanta, the Katrina victims that moved to Atlanta. Some of them can't return or will never return to New Orleans because of the decimation there, and they were never able to make the kind of money or get the kind of jobs in Atlanta that they left. So some people are still stuck and have never been able to get back to the level that they were prior to these catastrophes. So when I say make LA great again, I also mean make America compassionate again, that we can start putting human lives and the collective of America, all the needs, gender or race, insignificant, to put all the needs of the American people as a priority first. And we have to put that over the profit incentive, because the profit people do not plan for catastrophes. That's what governments do. And we have to make sure that we make our government plan for these kind of things so that we will build and stick with LA, that we'll stick with the Carolinas, that we'll stick with even San Diego and their flood victims. People are still not back in their homes, and they're still living in hotels. And FEMA money does dry up.
Can
So
can I share something with you? I was actually quite appalled by this. I was watching the news this weekend, and I believe this was the BCC, and they were interviewing here in the U.S. what was going on with the LA fires. BBC, I'm sorry. And the question that the newscaster asked his guest, who was a fire chief, and then he had a meteorologist. So he asked the meteorologist, how long is this going to go on? And he's like, well, we've got the second wave of Santa Ana winds coming. He goes, no, what I'm asking is how long is this going to go on? Because we want to talk about something else. So this individual who's in another country is thinking, okay, already, enough already. Can we move on to something else? And I thought, wow, have we become so desensitized when it's not in our backyard? Enough already. And I'm wondering, have we in America thought that way about other countries that are going through whatever they're going through, right? When they're dealing with natural disasters, when the tsunamis are hitting in floods in India, or what happened in Spain, right? With the just, what is it, 100-year mudslide or whatever that was. And they received more rain. Was it a year's worth of rain in a day?
Right.
So what, I'm just wondering, are we as a people becoming so into ourselves, we become so ingrown that we were starting to lose our humanity and our sensitivity? And I loved what Shari said. She said, we're a city of angels, right? So if we are people who are looking to have that angelic presence, meaning that presence of love, of service, of compassion, anything's possible. But when we turn inwardly and it's all about me and what can I get, and okay, really, we're still talking about this, and I'm actually wondering, I need to do my research to find out, does this guy still have a job? Because I was thinking, did he just say what he said? I had to go back and, hit rewind. I'm like, yep, he did say that. No empathy, no compassion. He just wants to do his job and give me another story to talk about.
Yeah, excuse me for cutting you off. But yeah, we've become so, and I've coined the term meistic. It's all about me. If it doesn't impact me, then I only have 30, 40 seconds, maybe a day, to give emotional or empathetic energy towards it, because I'm so focused on me. But if we're truly a great nation, then we will always focus on the collective. And my Christian roots say, take care of the poor, the weak. We have to do that as an integral part of our being. We have to do it all the time. Some people don't pass out dollars to the people standing on the corner. They say, oh, maybe they're going to get a drink. I said, well, I don't go by that. If a person is in need and I have, then I'll give. And if it'll be on their conscience what they do with it. I'm not going to judge, because it might be a person that's on that same corner that need. And if my meistic thinking say, oh, they'll probably get it, go and get a drink. Well, that's not my thing. My thing is to give, because my Christian value said, give to the poor, heal the sick. And to desensitize or tie our emotions and our ability to be empathetic toward our fellow man to a news cycle, because we're trained to the news cycle. The news pundits, they have 2 or 3 days on a story. They don't care what it is. They want another story, and they're trying to sell advertisement. So yeah, things have desensitized us, and we need to be careful because our humanity is at stake. Our inner core, our what makes us connected, or what makes us at the top of the food chain in the creation order, is that we have empathy and compassion for our fellow man.
I want to say something before. I mean, we're almost out of time. This has been a great conversation. Mental health, mental wellness. Now, we know that that's always been a part of an area of concern. And when the pandemic came about, the concern with mental health exacerbated. In fact, it's now called the second pandemic, right? Because of the adverse effects of being shut in, not having human contact, loss of income. There's just so many things that tied into people's mental and emotional well-being. These same people who were with us through the pandemic, like you said, San Diego, the Carolinas, Los Angeles. Imagine what they are going through emotionally. I mean, just trying to navigate the unknown. Like if you're all saying, well, I don't get what they're feeling. Well, the one thing we can all say that we experienced for the first time that none of us had experienced was a pandemic. Now, elevate that. I mean, the pandemic was our health, our well-being, right? And unfortunately, I know I lost some family members. Now you have these individuals that have a health risk, an economic risk, their ability to feed and clothe their family, have a roof over their head, safety and security, education. What do you think that does emotionally to someone? And I want to share this one story, and then I'll turn it over to you, Rick, before we close out. In 1970, I experienced an evacuation. I was a little itty bitty. We were in Italy, and there was a threat that there was going to be a volcanic eruption. We were in the Pozzuoli region in Naples, and it is the most dangerous area on the face of the earth for volcanic activity because of the population density that's right there. And it doesn't mean that there's not other, volcanic activity, but again, how dense the population is. And I still have PTSD, Rick, from that, from being separated from my parents, because I was at school. They quickly, we were picked up by the military. They first take care of the children, right? So we're carted off somewhere. I don't know where we were. And I'm wondering where my mom and dad are. My mom is a mother with a newborn child, wondering where her husband is, being carted off in the streets, people having she was telling me they'd have their little suitcases or wagons, everything. Again, this is back in the 70s, just trying to get to safety in case there had been an eruption. Now, I don't know how really, if there was an eruption, really would there have been safe, would you have been safe? But at that time, you had the gas emissions, sulfur emissions. All of this stuff was happening. And fortunately, there wasn't a volcanic eruption, but I've experienced that panic and that pandemonium. And as I said, I'm age 6, 7 years old, and I can see it today like it was yesterday. I do have PTSD. And then when I went to Korea and they had the unrest and they had the evacuation trying to protect the Americans because all of the tear gas and things was going, I freaked out. I'm like this 7-year-old kid running around just like crazy. So I can't imagine. I don't even want to say I understand what these individuals are going through. I don't know what it's like to lose everything. I just know what it's like to experience an evacuation as a little kid, trusting that an adult is going to do the right thing.
Yeah,
one of the things we haven't talked about, Rick, and I heard him today say, we're going to be looking for bodies. How many kids have lost parents? It's not on the news yet, right? But how many children are now orphaned?
And see, when I say that the impact will be felt 10 to 20 or 30 years from now are those kind of things. You mentioned mental health. PTSD is real. Most of your soldiers that you see walk around, we suffer from some kind of PTSD. And now it's good that society is starting to recognize it and starting to allow soldiers to not be stigmatized because they have PTSD. These things happen. The things that you do see will cause a trauma. And when you deal with the trauma, a lot of them put it into alcohol, a lot of them put it into drugs. And those of us that don't put it there, we still deal with it. And navigating PTSD by yourself is very alarming because it's almost impossible. Now, these people, these children that are actually being traumatized will have to deal with the fact of a lost loved one, lost things, a lost way of life, because a lot of them will not get the life that they know in LA, North Carolina, Katrina. You will not get that life back. And we don't have a society and we don't have a system set up. Our system is we have a facade, but for long-term care, long-term mental health, we as a nation is very underprepared to deal with the long-term effect of trauma, even natural trauma or just things that you run into in everyday life. But that trauma will turn a 7-year-old kid that's not properly addressed could turn them into a serial killer or an arson. It's going to be a lot of effects, but after the news cycle is over, then we tend to give up on the aid and assistance. So I say again, we have to stay in this for the long run, and we have to know that down the line there's going to be long-term mental care for the people that were traumatized. The one person that you were talking about, the family begged the dad to leave, but the dad couldn't bring the son out that had cerebral palsy. Well, the whole family's gonna have PTSD. I should have stayed. Or, so as a soldier, I can tell you the things that go through your head are just unbelievable. You have to navigate that. And we have to set up a society that factor that into our wealth, into our growth, into our social development for all of Americans and all of mankind as well.
And I think, like you said, the military example, we have a lot, unfortunately, that are committing suicide on a daily basis. We have, again, those that have not, recouped or even rebounded from the effects of the pandemic, have found themselves in crippling mental situations and may have even taken their lives. And now you have, again, all of these natural disasters happening in our youth, right? They don't have the tools yet to manage, to adapt. I mean, most of us don't have the tools to adapt, but at least we've gone through some things that we know, okay, this too shall pass. I can maybe make it through. But you said these kids are wondering, like this one little kid, it was so precious. They went and looked at the home and the parents were distraught, but their chimney was in place. And the little girl said, "It's okay. Our chimney's there. At least Santa will know where to come and drop the presents."
That's so precious.
Right. Just innocence. Yeah. But again, they're going to start asking, where are my friends? When can I start going to school? How long do I have to be in this hotel? Where's my little beanie bear? All of these things are, I mean, it's unfathomable what's going on. And unfortunately, we're out of time. I could talk on and on about this, but I just want to encourage those of you, trust me, if you don't know someone in LA, you know someone who knows someone. If you don't know someone in San Diego, you know someone who knows someone. If you don't know someone in North Carolina, you know someone who knows someone. If you don't know someone who was affected by the Katrina, you know someone who knows someone. So I'm asking those of you who have time, money, resources, dig deep and give. There are local organizations that are gathering about collecting food, clothing, and other non-perishable items to get to LA. They're boots on the ground in LA. They're people, they need volunteers. If you're able, and I know many of you are, if you have a roof over your head right now, you are able to pull something out. Go in that closet, that dress or that whatever it is that you haven't worn in a year or so, and give. I love you sent me something that Halle Berry took all of her clothes. And you may say, well, she's Halle Berry, she can go buy more. The point is she gave all. It doesn't matter what she could go buy, she gave all. So from your abundance, however it may be, these people have zero. Give. Find these organizations in your local area, see how you can partner. And those of you who have these platforms, like Rick and his organization, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, and the Divine Nine, I know they're out there. Well, you all are part of organizations or may have platforms. Use it, leverage it. Collectively, we can begin to heal. Rick, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to say the last closing remarks, and we're going to have to sign off, at least for now.
Yeah, so what I charge all Americans to do now is to make LA great again. And by that, I mean, looking within your mirrors and your heart and put all the discourse and all the division and all the I don't like this and I don't like that, and realize that there are human people in LA that are struggling. It doesn't matter what gender, what race, it doesn't matter their political affiliation, but there are people in our country that need you all to put on your big boy pants and your big girl pants and give from the heart. As those of us that are believers, give from your lack. I know some of you have a lot, but some of us have nothing. But give from your nothing. You'll be blessed based upon, you give from your lack. You give what you can. And it may be a phone call to a loved one, or it may be an encouragement to those that have been impacted, that have family members. But call and reach out and try to support the effort. Look on the internet and find out what are the agencies that you could give to locally that will support LA and North Carolina. And also people are still in need and they still need help. So I encourage you all to be compassionate, be empathetic, and to love one another. And let's make LA great again.
I love it. Mlaga. Make LA great again. Thank you so much, Rick, for joining me for another edition of Choose to Challenge. If there's anyone who would like to be a guest on the show, if you are an advocate of change, you want to push the envelope, you want to make sure that systems, institutions, mindsets are shifted so people can elevate to the best self possible, that they can live their ideal life, then you're the type of person we're looking for on this show. You can contact me at LaWanna at BradfordGroupMTG.com or info@BradfordGroupMTG.com, or call me 678-428-5589. Let's make LA great again. Mlaga. Let's make Mlaga. Let's do it. Let's make it happen, folks. I believe it. Well, thank you again for joining us for another edition of Choose to Challenge. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Be safe, be well.